Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, I watched season 2 of Lost, and I'm still not convinced they had any idea what they were doing. I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think they were making it up as they went along. I think JJ is a bit of a grifter, and he just opened up a mystery box. And the thing about the mystery box is you don't actually have to have a good idea. You just have to open the mystery box and let other people use their own imagination. And unfortunately, you're never going to write a better solution than the one that people imagine. So what you do is, or what JJ does, is you just forget about that mystery box and just open up a new one. Here's a new mystery box. And that seems to be what they do all season. And with the show in general, I'm not really convinced that they have any real answers. Now, I started watching the show when it first aired in 2004. I watched the first season. I came back for the second season. I lost interest fairly quickly once I got into the hatch. And then I missed a couple of episodes, and then I felt like, well, I'm never going to be able to work out what's happening because I've missed clues, because I believed there was actually a real, real like mystery to be solved. And I'm kind of realizing I don't think there really is, or wasn't at that time. So I sort of have gotten back into watching it and decided I was going to watch it one day. I was always like, I'll catch up, I'll get the DVDs, I'll watch it one day. So season 2, they start off with Sawyer and Michael on the raft. Jin just disappears and washes up somewhere else. And we see some of the others who I know what they seem. And I'm not going to give away too many clues, just on the odd chance someone watches this who hasn't seen the series, which I don't know. And I mean, there's some things about the series that work. The characters work, and looking at the individual characters and having whole episodes around individual characters work, and you can have some really great episodes, like the episode between Bernard and Rose, where we see their backstory. That was really amazing. All the backstory, all the episodes with Jin and Sun, they were great. Some of the other characters I couldn't care less about, and I didn't enjoy their stories. I mean, Hurley, he's suddenly crazy and has a psychological illness. Of course, because on the island he doesn't need the medication, so he would have had those problems running onto the island, because everything changes on the island. Sun gets pregnant when Jin actually can't impregnate a woman, so the whole question is who got her pregnant. And so there's things like that, and the whole what is the island? Well, the island is a mystery box, and they're just making things up. And it's like, well, everyone's health problems get cured. Locke can walk. Sun can get pregnant, even though Jin can't. So it probably is his, because they were continuing to have sex, not knowing, not occurring to them that they could actually get pregnant on the island. We are introduced to the people in the tail end, and I thought they could have done that better. I thought it would have been really interesting if they'd started the season off with the episode where they go over and catch up. They show the people from the tail section, and they catch up on what's happened with them. So you start off with just a nice idyllic shot looking out of the island under the beach, and then you eventually hear and see the plane crashing. And when you see that, you don't believe anyone could survive. I can't believe anyone could survive that. And that would have been a good place to start the season and let people think, oh my God, they're abandoning everyone else and they're just going to focus on, the other side of the island now. That would have been entertaining. But then people would have worked out, if they kept the same format, that they were just catching up on them. We're introducing these people and catching up, so they are where the others are in the season, like 48 days or 60 days or whatever later. So we see them, and there's about 20 of them. And some of them are interesting, and they eventually make it to the other side of the island. One of them, of course, is Bernard. And there are things that don't quite... I mean, you see there's all this crossover between characters. Sawyer bumped into Jack's dad. He literally opened the door and banged into Sawyer, and they both ended up in the same bar. Hurley... The girl that he apparently was interested in him, that he fell for, and was interested in him, who gets shot, she actually was in the mental asylum. But I still can't work out, was she a patient or one of the nurses, because I didn't spot her and I don't know where that was. I haven't followed it that closely. But this we see Locke with his dad being conned, falling in love with a woman, not being able to get past his like obsessive sort of fixation with being kicked in the face by his father, which apparently he needs more of, so he keeps going back for more. And she's like, if you can't stop this addiction, I'm going to leave you, because she's dealt with addiction her whole life. And Katie Sagal was playing that role. I didn't even remember she was in it. She was great. Michelle Rodriguez was good. I don't really like her, but she was good. She died. She didn't even make it through the whole season, but I do remember her popping up. So yeah, I don't know, the Nigerian priest guy was interesting. He starts off being very much one type, then you see he's got a whole different story, and then he ends up in a different place. The plane that left with his brother's body from Nigeria ends up crashing on the island. He ends up crashing on the island. All the connections are getting a bit ridiculous, where, just these factors that are so far away from each other all end up relating back to the island. And we also have the whole button, to push the button or not, and how maddening that was. At one point you think that there's nothing behind it, and there was that scene where Locke doesn't push the button right away and he gets the little symbols, but then I think he did push the button after that, so they didn't let it go long, is how I've remembered it being played. And then there is a point where the computer's destroyed and the button isn't pushed, and we saw with the guy on the yacht that there was a bit of time where the button wasn't pushed and the island started to shake and everything, but they managed to sort it out after the system failure alerts and all that. And we get the same thing here, but of course it keeps going, and then you have the giant light. And the initial electromagnetic issue, everything starts being sucked towards the centre. I think it's the centre of the facility and everything. And then we have this giant light from outside and this noise, and something has happened. So it wasn't an exercise. There is something really there. I thought it was... I initially just thought it was a bit of a con, a bit of an experiment, and just a study of psychology. But it does seem there's something to it. But what is it? Is it anything real? I'm not sure what that was, because if that's all it was, why did they have to keep pushing the button? Why didn't they just let that boom, that light go, and then just move on, instead of just maintaining that, I don't know. And the whole idea that there was this whole, like, how could any university or any organisation have the money to build that sort of facility out on an island like that? And the technology, it's supposed to be 1980 when the films are made, and everything's supposed to be based on 70s, but when you look at those films, it looks like they were made in the 60s or 70s, but they were made in 1980. So there's some things that don't really match, don't really work. It's a bit of a mess. The characters saved the series because there are some really great episodes just going into the individual stories of the characters. But the overall ridiculousness of the whole series gets a bit much, and the others, and Michael and Walt, my God, the lengths, obsessiveness that he has, and the lengths he goes to get his son back. His son, who's apparently some sort of devil child who can make things happen, and he keeps appearing like a ghost, and you think it's illusion, but then you know he's still on the island because they brought him back to the island once they took him off the raft. So was he really there? But he had to have been there because people saw him, but why would he be there? Why would he go out, stand around vaguely and then run? Because they thought it would be cool to do that. That's the level of thinking with this for the most part. It's like, well, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if writing? And that's how JJ works. Wouldn't it be cool if we had Michael just appearing to people and they didn't know if it was a ghost or real? But why? Doesn't matter, it's cool. We'll work it out later. That's the disappointing thing about Lost, is realising that so much of it is, of the overall mystery of the series, is just sort of, wouldn't it be cool if, and then we'll work it out later. And then they said earlier they wouldn't have a cop-out ending, and I'm like, well, I'll get to that when I get to the last season, I guess. But I don't know, it's interesting. I like the fact they're dealing with Australia, so Sydney comes up all the time, and a lot of the little stories they tell from people's lives focus on Australia. And one interesting little thing is they couldn't get enough cars with the steering wheels on the other side like we have in our country, so they reversed everything and wrote all the signs backwards so they could film on location with regular cars, and just alter everything else to look like it was around the other way. So little things like that you get from the special features, and that were interesting. But what else was there to talk about? Oh, the ratings. It's interesting that the ratings did go down. Started off, season 1 opened and ended with 20 million. Season 2 opened with 23 and went down to 14 million and ended with 17 million. So each season sort of comes up on the last episode. Season 3 started off with 16, went down to 12. The ending had 13. So there's an extra million people that seem to pop up for each final episode. I think season 4 had 16, went down to 11, then had 12 at the end. Season 5, they had, I think, started off with 11, they went down to 8, and they had 9 at the end. So the ratings did drop fairly consistently. People did lose interest, which is interesting. But I'm going to keep watching, partly because I'm mostly watching in the background while I do stuff. I always have to have something on. It's just my what's on at the moment show. To save me looking for YouTube videos to watch while I'm working. So I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to continue to give my opinion.